You're listening to Evergreen Media Network. I am Cindy Schwartz, and this is the Patient Partner Show. We're also a podcast on Spreaker, so look us up. Jeannie Roller, my co-host, has quite the unique topic, and sadly, it is not really unique. And you're talking about, Jeannie, a person that had surgery, had brain surgery, skull surgery, and they lost part of their skull? Is that what you're telling me? This is like unbelievable. Go ahead.
Yeah. The news story is from the Atlanta Journal. A couple sues Atlanta hospital for allegedly losing part of the patient's skull following brain surgery. He had a swollen brain, to put it kind of simply. So they had to relieve pressure. So they took out part of the skull. They were supposed to label it, set it aside to put back in later. Well, something happened. And they removed it. And when they went to get it, they came across that there were several or more than one bone flaps with incomplete or missing patient identification. And therefore, they couldn't confirm which one actually belonged to that patient. So what happened is he got a synthetic bone flap, and it entailed a longer hospital stay, of course. And then he got an infection that then required another surgery. And of course, all this cost much, much more money to be paid by him. And then he's been unable to work, all the pain and suffering and permanent injuries due to that. So, I mean, there is an ongoing lawsuit about this. But this, Cindy, is so scary and so typical that when you have a procedure done and something goes wrong, that you as a patient have to pay again. There is more suffering involved. And sometimes really you're not even told that it was the fault of the medical establishment why you have to have all the follow-up surgeries. So this was pretty clear cut that, well, we don't have your bone fragment anymore, so we have to put in a fake one. But a lot of times you don't really know that it's their fault, that you have to continue to pay for their mistake. And this is, I mean, you should just be able to go and have faith that they will do the right thing. And if they do make a mistake, that they will be honest and forthright about that mistake and say, you don't have to pay, we'll fix it.
Yeah.
How about that?
Yeah. Well, I totally agree with you about that, because that's what we were always talking about. Well, we still are talking about, but that's what we were expecting when we went back to our medical facilities and said, blah, 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 blah. We thought that there would be something like that. And then hopefully it wouldn't happen to someone else. Well, that wasn't the case for either you or I, and that's when we started talking about it on this podcast. So the same thing goes with this. And I'm not a lawyer, I'm not a doctor, I'm not, an expert in any of this stuff. It's you just try to bring these stories to the forefront so people can be aware of it and make your choices about what you want to do going forward in the healthcare system, or maybe give you more information and answers or questions that you can ask before you go in there and dot the I's and cross the T's. So I thought Medicare was the gatekeeper of all these kind of things on why it was, I'm just throwing this out as my opinion, as why, these things shouldn't happen and it shouldn't be double charged. That's the first thing. I don't know if I'm saying the right thing, but I'm almost positive I've read that in so many places about that. The other thing is, come clean. People make mistakes. I mean, my brother laughs about it all the time. Well, that's why they call it practicing medicine, because it's not an exact science. Okay, I get that. People make mistakes all the time. Well, then just say it. That's all you and I were looking for. We wanted to hear, I'm sorry, we screwed up. Let's fix this. Not that we're the bad guys and that never happened. That's what they told you and I. Okay, but separate incidences, separate states. How many people we had on here that we've interviewed? The same thing happens. I mean, I don't want to say we've hit all 50 states to date, but we have most, and only because some people don't want to say where they're from, and also countries around the world that this is happening. So what is the gatekeeping of all of this, and what is the shame, or my word, of actually saying, okay, I screwed up, and let's get this right the next time? Is it the lawsuit? I don't know. It's got to be something like that.
It's not a lawsuit, because
we
lawsuits
can't sue.
are almost impossible.
Yeah, we can't sue, so it's not that.
And we thought Medicare would take care of it, but we got a rude awakening there, because Medicare didn't care. In fact, because they knew that he didn't give consent, and they said he didn't consent, but they's like, well, he should just be glad he's alive.
Right.
Then I found fraud, and they didn't want to pursue it. It's like, well, you were going to pursue it, but they didn't want to, because they said, well, then we have to go up and reopen the claim, and blah blah blah.
Right.
Well, okay,
there you go. Right.
Do it. And that's supposed to be their job, Medicare's job. And all these agencies are supposed to be there to protect us. But then a lot of times, at least in my opinion, when someone is harmed, there's silence. In fact, in my opinion, a lot of times they work against the harmed patient.
Well, yeah.
That's the way I felt.
Yeah, me too. I mean, and it's so many people. And we talk with people behind the scenes, if you will, that don't come on this podcast. They don't want to come on with their stories and whatever, but they're totally valid, totally legitimate. They're on different websites. You and I go on and we talk about it. And it's been on, X, Twitter, when it was Twitter, all Facebook, there's groups, goes on and on and on. There's other podcasts, there's other, whatever you want to call it, blogs.
Yeah.
These aren't isolated incidences. That's the sad part. It's the disgusting part. I mean, it seems like, a lot. That's why we started talking about it. And I mean, it isn't the rare thing that happens. It's more and more and more and more and more. So why is it that it's like it's seemingly lackadaisical anymore, that you're not dotting the I's and crossing the T's? I don't get it. So you put an electronic program in place. Well, that's supposed to make it more difficult to make mistakes. And some of it seems like it's easier. Like it's automatic checks. And I don't know. I don't know what the answer is. It's just crazy. You just got to stay on top of everything.
Well, it is. So few of these cases actually make it to malpractice court.
Yeah.
The ones who do, and the ones who do receive a settlement, they have to sign a non-disclosure agreement, an NDA.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the funny thing about that is most of these hospitals are publicly funded.
Yep.
So the only one who can't talk about it is the patient and their family, because they sign that non-disclosure to get the settlement.
Right.
However, the case is on file in public records, so a news organization can go there and get the results of the malpractice settlement. And it is so funny that everyone can talk about it except for the people involved that the harm actually occurred to, because the only way that they can get a settlement is saying, nope, we won't talk about it. That just adds more harm, I think.
Well, it does. And what I was going to say is, and a lot of the people, not everyone, but a lot of the people, they're not looking for the settlement. They're looking to have it fixed. It's not about suing anybody. That's the whole misnomer of all of this. I mean, I wasn't looking to sue anybody. You weren't looking. We were just aghast and, traumatized that this stuff happens to patients, and then you just get told that you're a liar, you made it all up, blah, 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 blah. And it's case after case after case. I mean, is that guy lying now, the one that had pieces of his skull taken apart? And they had to put in some plastic, whatever, pseudo skull? I mean, come on. He was lying too?
Yeah. And the other disgusting thing is that these medical people who are involved a lot of times in these malpractice cases, they may not stay at that center anymore. They will move around. And it is amazing that there's really no consequence happens to them over what they did.
No.
There's really no No,
accountability.
They just move on.
Yeah, there's no accountability.
Yeah.
The other thing is, real quick, we got a couple of seconds left, is people that do try to help. I had people in my case try to help. They're threatened. You know, the whistleblowers are threatened. I mean, so, you know, good luck trying to get that. And those poor souls, I mean, they're trying to do their best, the ones that are in the arena still. And oh my goodness. Anyway, on that note, stay listening to Evergreen Media.